Gradebook has three main sections, as we saw: the grid, the standards editor, and the digital review tab. And so we want to make sure teachers know how to access the gradebook, how to enter grade information on the grid. That's the most basic thing they need to do. How to enter, save, and reuse comments. That's just a really nice thing to do. How to view standards, calculation details, and update essential standards on the standards tab. How to review, markup, and provide feedback. As we mentioned, Gradebook can be accessed in a variety of ways: your teaching tools menu, your class menu from the jump button, your class menu from the grade link, and then the grade button on the teacher assignments page, or any page that shows assignments, there's a grade button. And we talked about the grid. Here's one with some data in it. So up at the top, the first thing we want to point out, you can change your marking term, your quarter, and your course with this dropdown. Teachers typically aren't going to go between marking terms and quarters, but they will go between courses, and this is an easy way to do that. Okay, and then on the right, which is cut off and not shown on this screen, well, there's a new assignment button that's shown. The jump menu is shown, our favorite little jumper. And then there's an actions menu. Okay, actions is for configuration and end of quarter activities. We do not need to talk about actions except to talk about how you change the color of your categories. Okay, handback, which is either auto or manual, view menu, shows or hide item on the gradebook. You should point that out. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it's very convenient. Teachers can turn off things they don't want to use. And then auto or manual for handback. Grid right here. Grid is right here.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about the handback because I know this was a concern. So handback, if it's on auto, the assignments are handed back and parents can see grades. So if it's on auto, it's just automatically posted to their dashboard. So they're available for students and parents to see. If you do manual, then the teacher has to do something to hand back. So students and parents cannot see the assignment until it's been handed back. So if as teachers, you don't want the parent or the student to see the graded assignment into like a certain day, like on Fridays or whatever, then you would set it on manual and then you would hand back the assignment on Friday.
Yeah, and there is on your gradebook manager that the teachers have access to, there's a hand back all button. So if you did want to wait till Friday, you don't have to go into every assignment. You go to Gradebook Manager, check all your courses, hand back all, it's all there. So typically, this is used by teachers who are taking a long time grading something like a big essay, and they don't want some of the kids to get the feedback before other kids do. It's been used as a way of hiding grades from parents. That's really not how it's designed. It's not what it's intended for. They're going to quickly figure out that they can basically see everything that's going on all the time. And, the point of this is to keep parents up to date and in the loop. And so we want to try to be doing that. Okay. All right, so viewing an assignment. By default, the assignment is collapsed and all you see is the final grade, okay? Which for Columbus is C for complete, pending. If it was a grid, it would be the number and the letter grade. Now, on your view menu, you can also select that standards show up when it's collapsed, okay? So right now you see I clicked this button, it expanded, and I could see my standard, and I could grade by standard. But if you're always going to be grading by standard, then you probably don't want to have to expand it to see the standard. You probably want to see it all the time. So you say view, standard, always. Some people want to target standards and mark that they're assessed, but they don't actually want to grade it, and you don't ever want to see the standard, so you could hide it. And then internal notes and external notes. External is what the student sees. Internal is for you only. Those can be turned on or off. So I think when you saw the demo, they were both turned off. I had to go and turn on external notes. The view menu was hiding them. So, but this is the comments that the students see. This is feedback for the students. So generally, you're going to want to have that on for that. Now, when you click the comment icon, which is this little guy right here, pretend I didn't say that. That's the next screen. Okay. The codes, these are, you can set up your codes however you want. And for each code, there's two flags. One is counts as missing, and the other is counts as 0. Okay. And these are the codes that are set up by default and how they appear. Okay. So you'll want to, as the trainer for your school, you'll want to figure this out and make sure you're communicating it to your teachers. Okay. But if it's missing, it shows up in red on the dashboard as missing. It shows up in red on the assignment list. And parents can choose to get a missing assignment notification every night or every week. So it'll show up on that. And teachers can send a missing assignment notification too. Missing, you know, a lot of attention is drawn to that assignment if it's marked as missing. So it's a good way of, you know, making sure they know they need to complete it. It also creates a lot of anxiety. So, you know, you wouldn't want to just mark things missing that you maybe might have but didn't grade yet. That would be bad. When you click the comment icon, which I circled here in red, it's in two places. A more detailed comment screen pops out from the right, okay? And again, this is all the questions and the feedback. It'll show blue if it was you, gray if it was vice versa, I guess. So you can make a comment. You can also answer questions, and it does all appear here, okay? By default, anything that you do from the gradebook is saved as a saved comment for that assignment. So when you go to this assignment, everything you've typed is saved. When you go to the next one, none of that will appear there. If you want it to appear everywhere, click this save button. It'll turn blue and it'll be on every assignment. If you don't want it on your saved comment list, just delete it. What we found is that most teachers don't know they want to save it until they get to the second person who they have to write the exact same comment for. And they're like, I wish I would have saved it. So we just save them automatically. And, you know, hopefully that makes it more convenient for you as you're grading things. Okay. Gradebook categories. This was the one thing on the actions menu that's relevant on day one. The rest is end of term stuff, and we'll do separate training on that. But editing gradebook categories. So some schools allow you to edit them and you can just fill them out. In Columbus, you're not supposed to edit them, but you can change the color. Okay, so you can pick whatever color you want, and then the header for the assignment shows up in that color. So when you're looking at your grid, you'll see them organized by color. So that can be helpful. If you are creating your own and you use letter grades, this calc metric, sum of points means you'll add up all points across all categories. So that's the easiest to calculate, but if the assignments that are worth more points have a higher impact. There's also average of averages, and so it'll calculate the average for every grade and then average all of those. So every assignment basically is weighted exactly the same regardless of the number of points because everything is just a single percentage. Okay, so here's the standards tab. I'm going to just mention this briefly. Basically, the grid shows you your grades by assignment. So you click an assignment, you see the standards. That's nice when you're grading an assignment, but when you're looking at the report card and you have these essential standards and you're trying to figure out what went into that, that can be really frustrating. So the standards tab shows it by standard, and by default, it shows your essential standards here. And when you mouse over them, it gives you the full one. And then when you click this arrow, it will show you the indicator standards, okay? And the grade method for Columbus is that the essential standard is the mode of the indicator. So if you have 3 and 2 of them are an M and 1 of them is an N, you get an M, okay? It doesn't matter if the most recent one was an N or not, it's just the mode. Then when you expand the indicator, you'll see the assignments that went into it. And the way the indicator is calculated, it is the most recent assignment. So you could have 20 assignments, and nobody does this, by the way, but you could have a bunch of assignments that are all M's, but if the most recent is an N, then your indicator grade is an N, okay? Now, that being said, you can just type in anything here. If you type in an assignment grade, it updates the assignment, things recalculate, everything's good. If you type in an indicator, that's an override. And at that point, it's going to stay that way until you change it, okay? And overrides show up with a big blue dot, and that means you overrode it. Under actions, there's a recalculate gradebook button, and it has an option when you do that that says, do you want to keep the overrides or get rid of them? So, you know, if you want to get rid of all your overrides, just recalculate it. Everything will calculate the way it's supposed to be. And then if you need to override anything, you can. Okay, so now the digital review tab, this is how you grade assignments that are submitted digitally. And basically, it has its own assignment list, which goes down the left. And it shows in green the number that need to be graded, or sorry, that color is blue. It shows in blue the number that need to be graded. There it is, still blue. And when you click, so if I click pre-algebra worksheet, it will then go to the next tab over, which is the list of students. And again, they show up in blue if they need to be submitted. If you had said requires resubmit, they would show up in red. Otherwise, they show up in white here as not submitted. One thing though, if they've attached work and it's a Google Doc or whatever, you will be able to go and look at their work in progress. And actually, you could give it a grade. They don't have to submit it. You can get it. But that's obviously not ideal. Okay. So when you go into the digital review, there's two main tabs, the panel that shows their work and the comments and grade panel, which is where you put in your comments and grade. Okay, the panel that shows your work changes based on what type of assignment it is. So if it's a document, it's going to show a picture of the document and you can mark it up, okay? The tools over here on the left are the markup tools, and they're just like what the students have, a pen, text. That's kind of the main things. You can go between, if this thing has multiple pages, you switch pages here, okay? And if they submitted multiple files, you switch them up here. And we just changed that so this appears red until you get to the last file. Because one of the issues we had is at first teachers weren't realizing that kids could submit multiple files. When things first came out with distance learning, there was no clear submission method. And so students were taking pictures, and they might take multiple pictures and upload them, and then you'd end up with multiple files. It's obviously better if you can upload the document and have them edit it in either Google or in our markup editor, and that keeps it all together. And in that case, you just need to know to go between pages here. If it's a Google Doc, you will have an option to open it in Google. Now, just so you know how this works, when they submit a Google Doc, we are going to download a PDF of that document at the time that they submit it, and that's what you're going to see on this screen. You can also then open it and see the document and edit it. And we are going to remove them so they don't have access, so they can't change it. So those two should be the same. But we've seen some interesting things happen with Google Docs where they find a way to edit them after the fact. So this is kind of a safety method. One of the items was a good trick. So for a while there, Google didn't even lock it down, and they could keep editing it. They'd submit a blank document and fill it out afterwards. Another one is they add permission for someone else, and when they submit it, Google says, "Oh, I'm going to take you off," but it left the other person on, and then they could still edit it. So they're kind of cunning that way. So anyway, this will be your picture, and then you can look at the document. If it's a video, the video will appear here. If it's audio, you can play the audio. If you type a comment, if you type this guy, it will appear both on the document and also in the comment feed, which will then appear on their news feed. All right, on the right, if there were multiple submissions, you can see viewing, there is submission 1 of 2, view both of them. Here's the date, the number of files, whether it's been graded. Okay, again, you can switch between them. If there's standards, you can grade the standards. You can give it a code. Comments, you will see the comment history, and you can add your saved comments. That works the same as it does on the grid. And then down at the bottom is where you put the final grade. So this goes through each part of it. Oops. If there's multiple submissions, the submission has a grade and the final has a grade. Usually it's just final grade is there. And then you hit mark graded, and that hands it back. So that's a quick overview of the gradebook. If you have any questions, you can email support@digitalacademy.org, and don't forget to click the help icon on the gradebook for additional files and handouts. Thank you.